Welcome to this episode of Back to the Story, where friends come together to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be your DM, Klaus. Let's get started.
When you see God's rest surrounded by armies, then know that his desolation has come near.
It is my destiny, not yours.
Really, it doesn't fucking matter if I'm ready or not. I have to deal with the end of the world, and I'm not ready for that.
The reason why any of us are enough for anything is because we have each other.
Everyone can change, not everyone will, but everyone can.
And every day has been beautiful since.
For these are the days of vengeance, to fulfill all that is written.
Yes, I know we all want to compare our god's dick sizes right now.
My glory is to protect. My virtue is sacrifice.
My curiosity is satisfied.
For your sins, I will allow you to seek the knowledge.
Have the courage to do what's right and not what's written.
And God's rest will be trampled underfoot by the heretics until the times of the harbingers are fulfilled.
We've gotten through this before. We can do it again.
You got this.
One more time.
Well, I guess everyone's here if y'all ready to play D&D, sort of. Talk about D&D, whatever.
That's what we're doing, talking about D&D.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So previously, as the bronze scales hurtle towards their final conflict with the Eternals and with the Annulus impending, they collect the remaining, let's call them vestiges, powers and boons required to fight an Eternal. Vesper gained sainthood from Aine, Amson gaining insight from the Locust Star, Ball, with Felix's aid, resurrecting Tyrus, and Meli completing a spell she'd been working on for some time and capturing some sort of death demon. You each have a glowing halo around your heads, from Calvin achieving his glory. And Ellery learned a little bit about where she came from and her connection to the Celestials she met on the boat some time ago. Spending your last few days in Embershore with your family and friends, Felix dressing up and trying on outfits and many bottles of wine with Elle, and leaving with some lemon drops as you prepare to teleport into Fel'Nor, the shadowed and desperate place once more. We come back to the story here as you've made your preparations and said your goodbyes and prepared to teleport. The runes have been given to you, and you gather around, and I presume Ellery begins the spell. The runes are drawn and ignite, and the portal opens, and you step through. Passing through that portal, you feel a sudden chill immediately hit. The lights all around you from Embershore dim. The shadows thicken. You look up and around to find a dark and scarred sky, like it's been ripped through a blanket, leaving white and red tearing across it. It's cold as you look around in this shadowed place, but find yourself to be in the center of a city that's surprisingly lit, with numerous colored and glowing lanterns dimly illuminating the streets and buildings and the city. You see the city seems to be carved from a massive cave mouth. It's set into it. Great cave and mountains beyond, kind of built in tiered, rising up into the cave and the mountains, descending in tiers, leading down to a long beach with still waters. The architecture is old and arched. You see gray-green marbled stone illuminated by the colored lanterns, bronze metal accents, numerous symbols carved into them, pictures. You see standing around you that you're standing on a pedestal where this portal sent you. Pedestal is in the city center as a sort of city square, and there's numerous guards standing around you. Humanoid for the most part, but with glowing eyes. Not quite as many as you were met with when you went to Set, the undead city, but enough. This meeting has been prearranged and the time set, and one of the glowing-eyed individuals steps up. She has dark hair and a small nose, thick cheeks. She has glowing green eyes, a very short skirt, but with some sort of leggings or trousers underneath. She walks up. Hello there. I'm Escort Melakir Daravar. I am to bring you to the Christmasa. I presume you to be the bronze scales. Yes?
That we are.
Well, welcome to the city. Welcome to Karn. I hope you will enjoy the sights along the way. When you're ready, follow me. She leads you through the city, out of this city square and through another district she calls Ascendant's Fall. In the center of this district is a great crater of shattered stone, where she says the Ascendants, their ancestors, fell after being killed by your gods. There's an archway built in the center that she walks you through, a place of reverence, where you see some people seemingly in prayer or reverence of some sort. There's lanterns set for each of the Ascendants, and it's built with a sort of Sistine Chapel ceiling, this beautiful painting on an arched ceiling of Galvadin Ralakir. Wounded, leaping up towards Valisol, the body of Mervhella falling in the background. It's beautiful. Stark. This place is guarded by what she calls the Ippitus, these sort of knights or bonded warriors of some sort. There's a number of them. And as you move forward, she begins to describe the place you're heading, the Kremasma, or the Hanging Halls Palace. There's stairs leading up to where you see the palace has been carved out of the ceiling of the massive cave, so that it hangs over the city and grants views across its entirety. Walking up these stairs towards it, you see more of these Ippitus, these Hellene knights. Gray-green stone, bronze accents, more of the lanterns of colored lights. You can see now you're close enough to see they have glowing stones, some enchantments, runes of some sort. Entering into the Kremasma, you follow the interior halls, windowless, to a grand room. The grand room has numerous individuals in them. You see many Hellene, many of them wearing fine clothes and skirts, weapons to their side, but not heavily armored. Similar for a number of Umbak, gold and silver, iron, ruby, sapphire, and another detachment of what you imagine are undead, a number of vampiric, it seems, some whites in this room that are kind of discussing and talking to each other. On the other side of this room are a pair of double doors that lead into a room beyond. This next room has windows that overlook the city below, the tiny colored lights glowing. This room is large and with a recessed pit in the center, and stairs down, tiered into the pit. Standing around are a number of individuals. As you take in this sight, the escort kind of stops you just at the door. Melakir. What lies ahead beyond this next room with all of the populace is the deliberation chambers, where the meeting will be held. The numbers will be equal for each faction. Do you prepare to send all of you in?
Yes.
I imagined, and they will each bring the same number as you. The pit you can see just a bit of ahead is designed so that you can sit on the tiers. It is tradition that one would sit at the very base of the pit,
and the others would sit behind them on the tiers. Typically, this is a leader of the faction, but arrange it however you see fit. Normally, except for those who are friends of the Alliance, the Coalition, must have their weapons removed. The Empress says she has shared a gift with you, no? An axe?
Vesper will touch the axe that's at her side.
Then this will give you permission to bring your weapons in. Bear in mind the numbers are equal to keep discussions from getting too out of hand. I hope it doesn't come to that. When you're ready, follow me.
Well, we aren't here to cause trouble anyway.
That is what I was told. I'm glad to hear it. She leads you through this room, this greater hall, where all the individuals, the Umbach, the Hullen, and the undead, eye you, parting ways for you to get through, allowing you into this room. This room now has only a few people, but as you begin to sit down, others enter, numbers equal to yours. As you begin to find your place, you see Empress Athenir Ralakir sits on one side of the pit, and behind her is Grand Architect Anirus Solteran, another individual, and several other, looks like these Ipotix, these Hellene Knights. You see Demiri Voss sit down, and a number of his vampire lieutenants or officers of some sort, one of which is wearing black dragon scale armor. Amson, you are very familiar with what this individual looks like. Dark black hair and a bushy beard, all black eyes. The third is an Umbach, gold. This goldish beard and eyes, dark, almost bronzed skin and veins of the gold, reaching out like the strands of a lightning bolt or a tree. Several other Umbachs sit behind them, leaving a space for you all to sit. You eventually find your places, I presume. Does anyone sit in any particular order or just kind of find a seat?
Vesper would sit near the front, probably not in the pit where the leader of the discussion is supposed to be, but just behind that.
For the sake of this conversation, it won't have a big mechanical thing tied to it. It is just more of a symbolic tradition that they hold, the church just kind of dealing with, basically.
Felix will sit in the front.
I think if Felix tries to sit in the front, Ellery would very deliberately grab his shoulder and hold him back, and then look at Amson.
Amson will just look wide-eyed at Ellery, not entirely sure what's going on.
You're the best talker.
It's either you or Felix, because Felix knows what we're talking about.
Very well. I will do the talking.
Nope. Vesper's gonna grab his armor wherever she can and have him sit next to her.
Okay, sure.
We'll be right behind you.
Literally, and Felix will stand behind Amson.
You guys eventually find your places, and there aren't actual chairs. There's just sort of tiered seats in a way. But you find your places, and the rest find their places as well as as a different individual. Another Helen steps in. Looks like maybe a noble or a servant of some sort, a male with a long, thick gray mustache and balding on the top with brilliant yellow glowing eyes. Seems you've all found your seats. The meeting will commence and the deliberation. To introduce you to the leaders and who is present, this, of course, is Empress Athenir Ralakir. Behind her sits Grand Architect Anirus Solteran and Ipotix Kir Axiros Nistotar. This King Demiri Voss, Marth Batar behind him of the Last Testament, and Marth Rolnar of the Last Testament. He then gestures towards the Umbach. Here we have Deep Lord Karnak Vardok from Vardun Darakta, and the Prince Zolanak Varntok, and Loksaran Glas Jibka. And here
And he gets to the bronze scales. We have the bronze scales. Sitting at the head is...
Amson Arms Blossom.
Amson Arms Blossom. I will take my leave. And wish you luck. And he leaves the chamber, and the rest of the Hellene guards or knights, the Ipitics, leave as well. The chamber doors are closed, and it's just you all in this pretty large pit. The bottom tier, the very deepest part, is maybe 30 feet in diameter, and it gets wider with each tier above. There's some murmuring in various other languages along the various tiers as they are waiting for the other individual to leave and the doors to close, the sound of the stone to come to a halt, and eventually it's quiet.
Can I cast tongues on Amson before we begin? Just so everyone in the chamber can understand him.
You can.
I would like to do so. Just kind of reach out and set a hand on his shoulder.
Hell yes.
We have made this arrangement, Empress Fel'Nor speaks up, to discuss how we might find a way to work together. The last days are upon us, the most important upon us, and it comes into question whether we are not enemies or perhaps we can be allies. But the stakes must be laid upon the pit for the liberation. We, 3 factions of the Dusk Coalition, have allied together to break the Divine Gate, to bring divine power back to our people, and to free them from the shadowed prison. I and King Demirivos have allied to furthermore attempt to slay Valasor, beyond which we have no ill will towards your people or your other gods. The last days hinge on the destruction of the last anchor. We have, one by one, after many years of planning, generations of building forces and resources, destroyed the others. The last one is a tree in your holy city of God's Rest. It is there where the gate will be destroyed. You have said you have heard the words of the spirits that guide you along the path. Would you find ally in this?
I think Amson will clear his throat a little bit and say, I understand your objectives, that you wish to break the Divine Gate, slay Valasor, and in order to do that, you must destroy the tree in the city of Nymanet of God's Rest. Our objectives are that we must save our world from annihilation, and to do that, it looks like we have to break the Divine Gate as well. So in that, our goals are aligned. You see, in order to destroy the person, or entity, whatever she is, that wishes to annihilate the world, the 2 halves of her separated form must unite once more, and the Divine Gate is what separates them. Once we do that, we can go after her. We will help you.
At the very least, we won't stop you.
Yes. We need the anchor to go down as well. Do understand our hesitation, for the tree is a thing most holy for us, most sacred. But we will not stop you, and if it must come to pass, we can hold off that those who
all
wish to stop
these
you.
promises. They've said many lies before in my city, and for what? For many of our allies to be killed? Your people, Deep Lord Karnak, to be killed? How could we believe them? I say we cut them down before they leave the city. They stood against us in Nymanet once before. What says they won't do it again?
How much distance is between us and them?
Less than 30 feet.
Not 15 though, right?
It'd be pretty close.
Because I was going to cast Zone of Truth and get it on all of us.
It depends on where you are. You might be able to catch some people. You won't be able to catch everyone.
Just Miri, because I think when the effect of the spell is upon you, you know that it's upon you. So if I can get him and Amson and as many of us as possible.
You cast the spell.
And willingly fail to save. There. Now none of us can lie.
There's a moment when you're casting that many people stand and some draw weapons. The Empress remains calm. Demiri draws his blade. The Umbak don't move. They seem unfazed. Once they realize what the spell was, or at least it wasn't immediately harmful, the tensions begin to settle down once more. Though it takes some hand-waving and quieting down from the leaders of each group.
No one in this sphere can speak anything dishonest. Every word from our lips is true.
Then tell us again. Tell us you will not stop us.
Empson will say, "Your caution and worry is understood, but unnecessary. We will not stop you in your mission to take down the tree."
There's many murmurs that kind of echo throughout. You see the Empress look towards Architect Aneris, and he kind of nods, waving his hands, kind of narrowing his eyes, double-checking, making sure everything's legit. It quietens down again. You will not stop us with the tree. That is good. I would hope for more. I would hope for aid from some of you, if you are willing. And what about the Sun King? Will you stand aside for that?
Amson's gonna think to Felix and say, "Can you get a survey on that from the group, please?"
Hold on. Yeah, they're all fine with it.
Does Felix say that aloud?
That's what he'll say to Amson, and if Amson continues to pause, he will speak up.
Okay, no, it's me that's waiting, not Amson.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. Amson will nod once and say, "We will stand aside."
More murmurs, another confirmation from the Architect. I'm glad to hear this. We may not agree on all things, but to know we can at least stand aside may be enough in this. Let us move on to the plan. When we will strike.
Before we do that, I'd like to ask that you also stand aside in whatever we have to do. Our enemy should appear at the moment the gate comes down. I ask that whoever that turns out to be, you go about your business to Velasol, let us about ours.
Or, if you care at all about the fate of the universe, which I do believe would consider this realm as well as ours, perhaps you might consider helping us stop the one who's trying to end it all.
And in return, I at least am willing to help you get to the Vivis tree. We have a way that we can smuggle you in, and the druids in the grove trust us.
And I'll do whatever I can.
The Vizard will make a promise, the Deep Lord Umbach speaks, without knowing what they will see. He is right, but so long as this entity, standing aside or fighting it directly, would not impact any of our current oaths, and they are not the current enemy of myself, then I will stand aside.
Fine. This is not my conflict anyway, and we have a way for our forces to arrive. You say you can get in close.
We could probably get a dozen or so of you in.
Oh, close.
To the roots of the tree itself?
Hopefully. We did say a few things around the druids last time we were with them. They might not let us get that close.
Oh, it's a different grove.
End of the world.
Yeah, fair enough.
It depends on who's there and who's been talking. But they have trusted me to go right up to the tree before.
And at the very least, we can get you to the grove.
And we can try to hold back the druids to give you time. I'd rather not fight them or harm them, but I'm sure we have ways of holding them back.
Willing to consider it. And what of your ill will towards me and my Batars, who were only protecting our city? And what of the deaths that you caused while there? What consequence does that carry?
You took one of ours, a sixth of our number. Is that not equal?
And you took others from our world before. Innocents.
Well, I suppose they were fair game. Lord Karnak, surely, though, you must require some sort of compensation for their betrayal. The Deep Lord furrows his brow for a moment and turns to one of their advisors, speaking in a tongue you don't understand for a few moments. They're whispering. He seems to be conferring about what exactly happened, some of the details. You don't catch every word since they're whispering, but that seems to be what they're talking about. As far as I understand, there was a conflict during a diplomatic meeting instigated by these individuals. Normally, such a conflict on diplomatic soil would result in treason and execution. Father for King Demiri.
Okay, can we just stop for a minute and put aside pride? You, on this diplomatic mission, put the emissaries in a jail cell and then wouldn't let them out. So yeah, they got fucking scared and tried to get out, at which point you tried to kill them. And this, by the way, is after you crossed over the boundary and massacred several people in front of them, leading to them chasing your agents across the world. So everybody fucked up on all sides, and the end of the world is happening soon. Pull your heads out of your asses, please, because we don't have fucking time.
It is my understanding that they were given a choice whether to stay or to go, and they changed their mind and took a shit in the cell. But to make a good point,
yeah.
The end of the world comes.
Does any of that matter? No. So, look, I don't have much patience for Decorum, as you'll see. That's why they kicked me back.
So much.
So do I, actually. We're all kind of dicks.
Well, with the end of the world, perhaps we will be rid of some of you.
Oh, we can only hope.
I will accept a reconvening after all this is done for monetary compensation. I will discuss it later. As you say, there are bigger things in this moment we should discuss. But I will not forget. Fair?
Fine.
With that behind us, we need a plan. We need to get close. The Miri scouts indicate they are ramping their protection of this one. With all the anchors, the other ones destroyed, and with the gods giving more direct visions than they once did, there will be quite a force there. I'm not sure we could punch through. We had hoped Hex with his oboe would be able to help us with that. I will like it if at least a few of you lend your arms. You will need them. I'm not sure we can do it alone. And if we can't do it alone, then you surely can't. How close can you get us? Is this by ground? By flying?
Combination of a few things. Perhaps if we send even one of us in, Ellery, to get close to the tree as they'll let you, possibly able to see its roots or touch them, then through a combination of my teleportation and a extra-dimensional sphere, we could get you maybe a dozen or so in an instant.
And who would come with us? You said you would be willing to help.
All of my skills are at your disposal.
Any others of you?
Vesper will stand. Or raise her hand or whatever seems more appropriate.
Vesper dabs.
Yeah.
I like to think she does both as she tries to figure it out.
Kind of like half rises out of her seat and is like, I don't,
And the rest of you?
I can hold anyone who would stop you off. I have plenty of spells at my disposal for such.
I can try and aid in that.
I think Ball kind of looks around, and then maybe, to clarify, we can still communicate with Felix telepathically.
You should. I am assuming most of you have items. It would be all but one of you usually, which is Elric, because I don't have much that's good for her.
I think it's fine. I think maybe Ball will just, maybe to the party, Ball will say, I could help, but I don't want to see anyone get hurt that doesn't need to get hurt. And that's kind of what I'm good at.
maybe if whatever Amston does doesn't work, you could be the last resort.
And I can give you something that'll help restrain people. You can focus on that.
Very well. And then Ball will speak up a little louder and say, I too will lend my hand.
Then the redhead.
I don't particularly want to, because he's a bit of a wanker, but if everyone else is doing it, then yeah, sure.
What? There's some murmuring as he tries to figure out how you insulted him and gets a little red in the face.
If there's a way that we can do this without bringing unnecessary harm to the people who would protect the tree, I'd like to see a way, if there's a way that we can distract them or hold them off without killing.
Well, I believe that's entirely up to how quickly we can take down the tree. He stands up and he draws a sword and he walks to the middle of the pit that has a layer of dark sand. He draws an X where the tree is. The idea is we have two forces, 3 counting Lord Karnax, but we have 2 primary flanks. The left, which will be my last will and testament. We will charge from this side, and the other we have one of your plains armies who will charge the other side. This will split their protections, distract them, and we will strike as quickly as possible directly at the tree. There will be likely still some protection there, but if we hit them hard enough on either side, they may believe that is where we're trying to punch through. If you can sneak us close, we get as close as possible and ready, and when the horns sound, we wait a moment for those forces to split, and then we attack the tree. There's some murmurs, some nods, other languages kind of talking amongst the tiers about the plan.
As long as we can avoid as much bloodshed as possible.
I believe what King Demiri is trying to communicate is that if we don't push hard on the outer rings, they will not believe that is our true force, and they will keep their protectors centralized to the tree. Which means we will have to cut them down. We will have to cut through them. It will take longer. More will die. If we can hit them hard enough to either side, and they believe truly that is where we're trying to break through, they may divide their forces. Then it's in the middle where we can strike as quickly as possible. None of us can promise that we can get out of this without some dead, but the quicker we bring that tree down, the less have to die. Our war is not with your people.
Pretty sure there will be a way for us to convince them to leave the tree. Or at the very least most of them, and then we can push aside the rest of them.
You mean slay the rest?
No. I mean push aside.
Yeah, put the murder boner away for a minute. We can possibly solve this quickly without too much conflict.
Just let us deal with the ones by the tree. You just concentrate on the tree and it should be fine.
And perhaps some of my new friends could help. I could ask them to try and hold people back without killing them.
And they're airborne with the horses, so that would be an excellent distraction as well.
They can move fast. I'm sure they would gather attention.
If we can leave some of the remaining forces or lead some of the remaining forces away from the tree, maybe offering to bolster its defenses, hopefully, we will have to let those of us who are convincing do the talking. But if they can get us close and we can somehow get some of them to chase something else, we use that moment to attempt.
Our people have tried talking for long enough. We, the Meli. The Empress stands and kind of walks closer to the center. He is right. In some ways, generations of our people have tried diplomacy for a long time. Gone back and forth with it. And it hasn't worked. But if you believe you can convince some to step aside, try. But if they don't, we need to be close enough to where we can act. This plan you have with your sphere, if you get us close, we will let you attempt to move them away. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we go for the tree. If they stand in our way, we will do what we must. But our goal is the tree. We know, including you, Kingdom Meli, that we cannot fight all of them. We must act quickly. So if those of you who do not want to be directly involved, want to try to trick or convince, that can be your part to play. But remember, you promised not to stand in our way when it comes time. And we will not stand in yours. Are we in agreement?
Amson will just look around for a quick confirmation. If he sees everybody nodding, he'll say, I believe we are.
The Empress looks towards the Umbach. The Deep Lord Karnak stands up, nods. Fine. We will continue with this plan, as stated here. Then at Kingdom Meli, fine, we'll do it this way. Then it has been deliberated and decided. This is our course of action. If you have peace to speak, speak it now. She and the others kind of scan each of you and each of the individuals in the other tiers, kind of looking for anyone to say anything, exploring the silence.
I think Ellery wants to take this opportunity to say one thing. So she kind of clears her throat. I just want to say that as much as we may have had our conflict, I do hope that you are able to find freedom from this punishment that has been laid upon you for the actions of your ancestors.
The Empress nods, a slight smile. Then we have reached agreement. And I hope we reach our goals, and that we find a solution for our people and for yours. I will do this. As soon as she says that, all of the other Helen sitting in her tier behind her repeat it. Lord Karnak says the same thing in his tier. Eventually Demiris does, and his tier repeats the same thing. They all say, I will do this. Now look at you.
I will do this.
I will do this.
Yeah, sure. I'll do it.
As will I.
Yeah, I guess so.
I will do this.
It will occur in a few days. We will be in contact to make the final details and to get in position. You all are free to stay here if you wish. But be ready. 3 days from now. Get in place. Rest up. Let's finish this.
There's a disbursement that begins to occur. Some of the individuals leaving off the tiered, the doors opening up. The chamber outside was largely quiet during deliberation, but now the murmurs rise up again, communicating in languages you don't all understand. A cacophony of voices all discussing what happened. Some just asking questions, others orders are being given and taken out as people move from this room. And
is Demiri still there?
Yes.
I want to go up to him if that's all right.
Roll initiative. I'm just kidding.
If no one stops me, I will walk up to him and I'm going to pull the cobra hood off.
I'm not stopping her, but I am staying fairly close.
And I will kind of smooth it out as best I can and offer it.
What is this?
A gift. It's an enchanted hood. It keeps you from being surprised in the event of a battle. Keeps your reflexes sharp. It saved my life quite a few times.
And it is a poison?
No, do you want me to lick it?
Sure, that would foul it up further. As he takes it and kind of holds it out and looks in front of him. Not sure if it'll fit over my helm, but I'll take it.
I wear it as a scarf usually, so I'm sure you could find a place for it.
Demiri. Athenira from a few steps away. Thank you for your gift. I appreciate it.
And I will give the most over-the-top, sarcastic curtsy. And I will turn on my heel and leave.
See, guys, slowly disperse from this room with everyone else. You are offered a place to stay if you need to or want to in the city, or are offered to be escorted back to the teleportation circle where you can return to get in position.
I would suggest to the scales having them go back and get into Nymanet and get as close, spend a few days not being traitors to hopefully ease the tension, and Felix will stay there, able to cross planes easily with the sphere.
Okay. If y'all do so, you're able to prepare and teleport back and eventually make your way back to Nymanet, meeting back up with the people you know there or returning to your room for the next few days as you prepare for this next stage.
Do we ever get, before we left for Aiain's realm, Braun said he was going to arrange a drop and give us our gear back. Does he do that? Did we get our good shit?
He didn't for a while. And then he did send a message that it was at a location. And once you return to Nymanet, in the present, you get another message from him. That the drop has been moved and it's in your rooms.
I just want the ring that Calvin made me. And the shield I got from Alejandro.
There is, all the stuff is there. There's a letter from Braun to you, Vesper, that you're able to open up. And to be honest, I did not write it, but it entails that he apologizes. And that after that night you met and you escaped, and that someone else was on the roof. He was charmed and seduced by one of the Batar, one of the agents of the will. He says he's not sure what happened since then, but the plan was to set a trap with the stuff in the original drop. But that recently, the last few days, he's not sure what happened, but the deal was changed and his
charm was released. He says he's no longer in contact with any of the members of the Will or the Dusk Coalition. So you regather your ring and your shield and whatever else you had there as you prepare for the next couple days, preparing to take down the Vivistry. Did y'all want to take a break?
Yes, I could use a break.
Yeah.
Is it too soon? It feels like it's kind of a good time.
Feels like a good time.
Yeah, I feel like the next few segments are going to go fairly quickly.
I think so too. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Y'all want to come back at just make it even 10?
10 it is.
Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. See you then. Next time on Back to the Story. As the last leaf hangs on the tree and breaks loose, all the other trees for miles in every direction you can see do the same. Their leaves, even those of the evergreens, change colors, wither, and fall. As you see the swarm of black star meteors forming above you. The annulus growing from a marble to a golf ball to a baseball to a volleyball size almost. Growing further and further, the next annulus getting closer and closer.
This episode is continued in Part 2, which uploads Friday and will be available wherever you're listening now. For behind the scenes and more, check out our Tumblr, back-to-the-story at tumblr.com, and follow us on Twitter for updates at back2_the-story. And if you're feeling especially generous, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory. We'll see you next time in Norithville.